As a young child, I ended up kind of being separated from my biological family, and I ended up being adopted into a wonderful family, but also being separated from my own heritage. And later on, you know, when I came to know my family again, and yes, that I did come from a Jewish background. We came 2015.
When we came into the country, we had the same paperwork that granted us our citizenship now.
Yeah.
So it's not like we got here and we were unprepared and this has been a process. We had the proof of the inheritance in hand.
You know, 3 years like that without any answer, without, you know, not even a regular visa or tourist visa. And one thing that would frustrate me is that I would see tourists come in and they would have the right to drive and to, you know, to come in and come out. And I would think, well, I'm greater than a tourist. I have a legal right to be here, and yet I'm not even allowed to get into a car to be able to go see my family. We decided to go to the Supreme Court after they basically sent a deportation letter. They said, you didn't give us a document, and I had given it to them, and at that point I already had to pay for a lawyer. And it was just sort of forced upon me that if we want to continue to be in Israel or leave in 10 days, you know. So finally, a week before the court date would be set, they finally made the decision. We agree that you have a legal right to be here. Now, I didn't get met with the fanfare of the flags and the waving and the celebration, but I did get met by Global Aliyah. The very first week that I was here, I was met and just given counsel and instruction that I would have been absolutely lost if I hadn't received, because there is no like handbook or no explanation as to how you can kind of come here and get through all this legal process it's very, you know, obscure.
You know, we spent 3.5 years walking to the store on Shabbat, and when we didn't have enough money to take the bus, in the intense heat and also in the intense cold. So right now, it's kind of nice that we can get into a car and drive and get our pita on the weekends.
Yeah, the future is us taking a trip to the beach and doing things as a family.
Yes.
And just kind of feeling normal and feeling, you know, finally the joy of what it is to be Israeli and to be here as not, you know, shifting through the wind and being unsettled, but actually being able to be a family.
Global Aliyah does not send people invoices. We pay their invoices. We help people to make Aliyah. We're helping those who don't have enough documents to prove the Jewishness. We're helping those who need to go through the DNA testing to prove their relationship with their Jewish relatives. We have a long list of people that want to make Aliyah. Let's do it together. Let's change the destiny of these people. Let's give them the new start. Start here in Israel.
Thank you. Well, I'll be very short. You've heard, I guess, many of these stories, how people come and are welcomed in Israel and are making Aliyah, repatriating to Israel. And it seems to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's done. Now, we deal with these people that are not getting through with this easy, smooth process. What's the reason? Insufficient documents. I'll give you another reason. People were born before the parents got married, or they never got married, the parents never got married, and they come to the Israeli consuls in the embassy, and they are faced with this horrible question. We know who your father is, we know who your mother is, who are you? And thankfully, since 2018, Israeli government has been using or allowing DNA testing for cases like this. Now, there are many reasons why people don't have documents. During the Second World War, many people totally destroyed their paperwork because it meant that they are going to go to the death camps if they are known as Jews. So they got false papers, and of course by that they forfeited their right to make Aliyah because they couldn't afterwards even prove that they were Jewish. So what Israeli government allows to do is as follows. if you have a known Jewish person, known Israeli citizen, and you can prove that you have a relationship with that person, you are allowed to turn to the family court. The judge would then order the DNA testing. Now, Israel doesn't recognize any DNA testing like that you would, spit in a box and then send it to a lab and then they will come back how many percent, whatever. They don't recognize this. They would recognize only these DNA tests that are made by the court decision, Israeli family court decision, and they are done in the Israeli labs, and they are when we get the lab results, we see the DNA markers coinciding on a sufficient percentage. Then the judge makes a decision to give this person Israeli citizenship. Now, you would be surprised by how many people are like this. And we are doing our best to help these people. Now, how did we stumble into this? I started working with Leah Shemtov, and you can see it on our website on the Global Aliyah.org. And she was 2 terms in the Knesset as a Knesset member, but then she's been working for 30 years. You can see her on the center picture here. For 30 years was dealing with Aliyah. And she told me, Albert, there are people that are falling between the chairs. We don't help all of them whom we could help. And when 2014 came and the first Ukraine-Russia war started, then thousands of Ukrainian Jews, those who had right to come to Israel, didn't wait in line until they get their paperwork cleared, but they came as tourists because in 2010-11, the Israeli legislations allowed the Russian and Ukrainian people to come on their passport as tourists. So who would wait when you have war happening in your city? Who would wait for 8 months to get your papers cleared if you can come as a tourist? So they ended up coming by thousands. And this is when we woke up and realized that we need to help them. And then later on, we started mostly helping people to make their DNA tests. Now, it's a costly process. And it is I'm saying it with a great feeling of shame that our government has not found the way how to help those people who need to go through this testing. First of all, you have to go to a lawyer to start a court case to open this process, and it costs money. We work with 2 law offices that give us much cheaper prices than anybody else, and then if you start this whole process, then you go to the clinic, and they want $500 per person if you are abroad to do the DNA tests, and you need at least 3 to 4 people to make the testing in order to identify that this person is really the real relative of known Jewish person or a known Israeli citizen. And so the only ones who help these people to make Aliyah are you, evangelical Christians. Nobody else has been helpful and has been doing anything. I mean, maybe I should do more lobby work. I realized Ohad Tal is in the Absorption and Aliyah Committee, but it's been like running into a wall because and I've tried several times to go through all of my friends in the Knesset. It hasn't helped. It hasn't worked. And maybe one day it will work. And maybe I can, and one day change the legislation so that they would at least pay back the DNA testing fees to the people that have proven that they have right to make Aliyah, that they have right to live in Israel. So far, the case is that the only ones who help are Christians who believe that God's word says that I will take you from every nation, Ezekiel 36:24, and bring you back to your own land. And it's very important work. I can say, as somebody who has made Aliyah, that it's not an easy process. But if you add to this difficult process also the bureaucratic difficulties and this horrible feeling of rejection, that you come to the authorities and they tell you, we don't know who you are, and you feel we don't want you. And this is the worst kind of feeling. And I've seen how people have struggled with this. And there are hundreds of young people we have helped. Families that like you saw in this video, that could not make Aliyah without our help, whom we have helped. Now, what we have done is that I've opened a special fund in honor of my mom, Galina, who went to be with God now on 30th of August, and they went to Israel because my grandfather told them in 1961. He told them, my dad and my mom, my mom is Jewish and my dad is Estonian, and so he told them in 1961, he was a believer, and he told them, when the grace, and these are the words he said, when the grace turns away from the Gentiles onto the Jewish people, he says to my dad, don't stay in Estonia, you follow Galina, that's my mom's name, to Israel. And it was 1961, you could go to jail if you would have said that in these times in Soviet Union. And they didn't tell it to anyone, and they didn't have the faith in God in such a way either at that time. But in 1991, when Birgitta had just been born and they came to visit us when we were in Sweden at that time, they told me this story in 1991, 30 years later, and I just exploded because then I realized that this is a well-kept family secret, that they were told to do so. And 10 years later, exactly 40 years after this prophetic word from my grandfather, they made Aliyah and came to Israel, and in 2001. So in honor of my mom, I just wanted to ask that you would consider to invest into Aliyah, and to invest into these cases of Aliyah that are difficult, that are not easy, that need our help and advice and consulting and funding, so that we can help these young people who are dreaming to be Israelis, dreaming to allow their kids to grow up in Israel, that they could make it happen, that they could succeed. And so you can visit our website, Global Aliyah. You can talk to me. You can also, by the way, give by visiting our Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast giving website. There is a subsection says Global Aliyah, so you may want to do that. But I think seeing the destiny of one person changed or one family changed is huge, and allowing somebody to flee from these uncertainties of war and difficult circumstances and come to Israel, where we also experience wars and maybe difficult situations, but you have so many more options and so many more opportunities, and most importantly, you are there because God told that He will gather you and bring you back to the land of your fathers. That's, I believe, the most important part. So visit our website, www.globalaliyah.org. Maybe you can display it on this screen, and check out the stories. Look at what we have been doing throughout the years. And I really believe that there will be a corridor of a safe corridor coming from United States to Israel. I spoke with, I don't know if Laura is here, you are there, and you surprised me because you said there will be a corridor from Indianapolis to Israel. We want to see a direct flight flying, and we need to help those who will come from the New York State and Chicago and all the neighboring states, because God's word is clear. He will bring all of the Jewish people home. He didn't ask our opinion about it. So this will happen. And so I need your prayers to really see that Global Aliyah would be able to continue its work and to help the Jewish people to come home from United States, from North America, and all of these parts of the world. We saw, and Jim and Cherie, you remember these days, how the wave of Aliyah came from the former Soviet Union. 1.2 million people suddenly. Nobody thought and planned and knew that this would happen, and yet it happened. It took a lot of organizing, it took a lot of work, but there were Christian groups and churches ready and willing to step in, and it was miraculous how this wave of Aliyah happened and took off, and I think maybe 800,000 Jewish people left and remained, came to United States, but 1.2 million came to Israel, and it changed Israel's face. It changed Israel's economy. It changed Israel in a very, very dramatic way. Think of this: if we would see another wave of 1 million Jews come to Israel, or maybe 2 million. Can you believe for 3? Well, then you have to go all the way to 5. Thank you, everybody.